Hello there, I'm Ross Tweddell from Cultaholic, and welcome to the latest thrilling installment of Straight to Hell, the show, of course, where my illustrious guest offers up a list of their pet peeves from the world of professional wrestling, then they go to die in hell for the rest of time. Joining us today is a man who you will recognise from copious amounts of WWE pay-per-view kickoff panels. He has his own wrestling podcast. He's on the bloody radio as well. It's Sam Roberts. Let's hand over to Sam and Ross now. All right, then, so we're joined by Sam Roberts. Sam, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Thank you for coming on. And I guess I'm going to start with a really vague question.
Okay.
We're going to go back sort of 4 years when you first made your debut on a sort of kickoff panel show kind of thing on WWE TV. What was it like when you turned up?
That's a good question. It was really unknown. You know, you just kind of go and they trusted me to just talk, but I didn't really know what I was getting into. I didn't know what it was going to feel like. I didn't know how much was going to be sort of scripted and how much was going to be made up on the fly. But once I sat down with Booker T and Renee and kind of saw that, oh, we can just have fun here, and the reason they brought me in is so I can give my opinion on stuff, it's felt a lot more comfortable. And so it wasn't until we kind of sat down and walked through the show that I figured out what the show would be when you're sitting there. And I felt like, oh, okay, I can do this and actually have a good time doing this.
So, on a really lesser extent, we got involved with a professional wrestling company once upon a time. And just from my personal view, not being a wrestler, never been in the wrestling business before, I felt like I shouldn't be there. And people sort of made me feel like I shouldn't be there. Did you go through that, or were you just like sort of seamlessly fitting in?
Well, nobody made me feel like I shouldn't be there. They were actually really good to me. And I think that's because I knew so many people going in, you know, because I've been interviewing people for so long. But I certainly, I mean, I still, to an extent, show up feeling like I shouldn't be there. Like there's somebody's just going to figure out that I'm just a guy. Why would I be sitting there giving my opinion?
Yeah.
But nobody's figured that out yet, I guess. So I'm okay.
And is it literally just your opinion as it happens on the show? Do you have to clear certain things before you say them, before they go on the air? Or is it just literally you sit down, say what you want to say, and that's what goes on the air?
We have literally done shows where the rehearsal is made up of, okay, stand there, do your mics work? Okay, we'll see you when we go live. And as the shows go on and as the years have gone on, there's sort of less and less, hey, what are you thinking here? What are you going to say there? Now it's just, okay, Sam, you'll go there, you'll talk about this match, and then we'll move on. And a lot of times I am making it up as we go, you know, once we're out there.
It sounds like the most ideal situation in that sort of position as well.
It's incredible. Yeah. And I think that they've really done me a service by just letting me go and say, okay, let's see what you can do. And then I just do what I do, and then they invite me back for some reason.
And obviously, I've got to ask, you know, you've had some controversial things to say about the likes of Dana Brooke and Bianca Belair in the past. After saying those things, have you passed them in the corridor backstage? Has anyone sort of given you a bit back after you've said something about them on a kickoff show?
Yeah, I mean, it is always awkward after the kickoff show because I also, you know, I don't necessarily know how hard I'm going to go after anybody or how it's going to be received, and some people take it differently than others. I tend to try to, right after the show, to just find a room nobody else is and just sit there and let some time pass and hope that everything just kind of goes away because, you know, I mean, you're not dealing with real life people and you've said mean things about them, but at the same time, I wouldn't take any of those things back.
Yeah.
So I think that there is a benefit to just coming in and doing those pay-per-views, which is as long as I can get through the evening, I can kind of escape for like 3 weeks and not have to deal with anybody.
Has it ever come close? You ever had a feeling where someone's maybe said to you, oh, this person's heard you say something, is it time to sort of hide?
Well, I mean, Montez Ford, every single time he sees me in a hallway, just stares me down.
But that's quite intimidating.
Just staring holes through my body, and I try to just keep walking.
You got to get yourself a Raw Tag Team title match now off the back of this, surely. WrestleMania around the corner.
Yeah, I think that's clearly where we're going, right?
Well, without further ado, Sam, of course, will offer 5 things to go straight to hell, and then we'll see what goes down there. Let's get cracking with the knacking. So, Sam, let's hear your first offering, please, to get sent down straight to hell.
My first offering is the phrase you see in promos. Whether it starts the promo, whether it's the middle of the promo, whatever it is to illustrate a point, when a wrestler goes, you see, whatever comes after that, I'm distracted by, because nobody says you see in any conversation, in any context, anywhere, except when they're trying to sound like a wrestler. It immediately takes me out of everything. I feel like if somebody was talking to me, like if I had an argument with somebody and I was like, why did you do that? And they went, well, Sam, you see. I go, no, I don't see. I don't know what you're talking about. Who are you talking to? I just asked you a question. So I think the phrase you see in wrestling promos drives me absolutely crazy.
I'll tell you one person who does say you see all the time, and that's my grandpa. But that's besides the point. This must have come from somebody you've watched over the years saying it every single promo, every single time. Who is this person?
I don't know if it's one person. I feel like it's become a wrestling trope. I feel like it pops up. Once you start hearing it, that's what happened. Like I can't remember who the first person that said it was, but I just became aware of it. And then I started hearing it like every other week. Mm-hmm. Somebody says it, and it's enough. That to me is the phrase that takes me out of that. That's the suspension of disbelief phrase. That's the phrase that I hear that I go, oh, okay, I'm watching wrestling.
That's because they're all really intelligent people, you know, laying out their points bit by bit by bit. You got to start with a you see to set the table, and off they go.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess are you sending a message here to the script writers, the fabled script writers in WWE today to stop using this phrase?
Well, I mean, it's WWE, but it's also on the independents. Like there are people who have people talk about how bad writers are, but then you go to like an indie show and you watch a guy get in the ring and he's just trying to sound like Monday Night Raw. And I'm going, well, that's not on any writer. That's on you. You know, that's on the independent wrestler that's there trying to, like, you know, figure out how to sound like a wrestler. And he says, you see, or she says, you see. And I'm going, like, you're now trying to sound like a wrestler instead of just being a wrestler.
And what's the alternative? What do you want to hear from somebody instead of you see? What's the way around this?
Just don't say it. Just tell me how you're feeling. Just explain that I'm gonna kick your ass. Like that's it.
Fair enough. There you go. The phrase you see has been sent straight to hell. All right then. So the phrase you see has been sent straight to hell. Sam, what's your second offering, please?
Okay, this is on fans now, not so much wrestlers. And this is like a two-parter, but one I think directly correlates to the other. And that is conversations with fans that don't watch. Like the fans that watch from maybe Royal Rumble to WrestleMania, and they watch one episode of Raw, or they watch one episode of Dynamite or whatever it is, and they come to you and they offer their like super informed opinion, and you bring up something that happened 3 weeks ago and they have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm going, why would you start this conversation? Why would you start a conversation about a topic that you're not informed of? It's wasted all our time. I'm not doing backstory for you. It's that, and it's people who come up with questions in conversations instead of just presenting opinions that go, hey, what did you think? What did you think of Raw last night, Sam? And I'm like, I have a podcast. You know what I think of Raw last night. What did you think? And they go, I didn't watch it. I go, well, then what are you asking me for?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I guess in our role, because I do the same. I watch Raw and SmackDown and AEW every single week to present shows on this channel. And people obviously ask me as well, like, what do you think of the show? Because they're not watching. Do you think in our role is sort of people, I don't want to say I'm in the media, you're in the media, they're using us as like a gauge as whether they should watch or not?
I mean, I guess, but they could just go to YouTube and see what you think. Like, they don't, I'm interested in people. I want to know what people think of stuff. Like, I think the gauge on what people think is more valuable to us as we are presenting this opinion. And you know, I want to know what people thought of things. If you want to know what I thought of it, you could just go look it up.
Yeah. It's a strange phenomenon because, sorry, continue.
But it's especially annoying when you're talking to somebody who doesn't even watch, who doesn't have an opinion. And then it's like, well, I feel like you're just having a conversation for the sake of a conversation. And there's no reason for it.
Yeah. It is a strange phenomenon because, like, you have the people who intentionally don't watch just because, you know, it might be WWE and it's obviously bad, isn't it? So there's no need to watch. But then they come and want to talk to you about it and what's happened on the latest show. And it's a weird thing. It's a weird juxtaposition to find.
Right. Yeah. If you don't watch, it's because you don't like. And if you don't like, then what do you care about what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say about there being too much wrestling around these days? To watch every single week, I mean.
I think that there is, if your goal is to watch everything, then yeah, it's too much. But I don't think there's too much. I think that there's just now finally options. I mean, you could have your week full of watching wrestling just through like the Fight app and the Independent Wrestling TV app and DVDs and YouTube without ever turning cable on to watch wrestling. You don't have to watch mainstream wrestling, and it's still accessible enough that you could watch everything. I don't think that there's too much. I just think it's an unrealistic expectation that anybody could possibly be watching everything at this point.
It's just too addictive, though, isn't it? You have to watch it. You have to watch it all.
Yeah, and then you start challenging yourself. Like, no. If I really wanted this, like, you feel like you're an athlete, but you're just sitting on your couch watching. No, if I really wanted this, I'd put the hours in.
What would you do if it wasn't your job? Because I think I'd really struggle if it wasn't my job every single day of the week to catch up on everything.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't my job, I'd probably make choices. And I think that's what most people are doing now. They're just making choices as to what they're going to watch. And I think that, you know, advertising maybe what's going to be on this show. I think that's why the shows should be so good. Because I think that, for instance, if Raw is good one week, you need to also display why it will be good the next week. Meaning, okay, I'm really interested in this thing with AJ Styles, and it's going somewhere. So now I want to watch Raw next week as well. But that's the choice. If I'm only going to watch 3 hours of wrestling because I like Raw this week and it seems like it's going someplace interesting, I'll watch Raw next week. You know, I think that's holds true for all of the shows.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, with Raw especially, though, it is getting better at that. Especially in the past sort of 6 weeks. Like making you want to tune in the next week. It's something that's been missing on Raw, I thought, for a very long time.
Yeah, I think that Raw has been amazing the last 5 or 6 weeks in comparison to where it was. I feel like every segment, for the most part, something's happening. For the most of the characters on that show have something to do, and more segments are interesting than aren't, which is a big deal because there's a lot of segments. It's a 3-hour show every single week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Raw's actually been really, really good the last 5 weeks.
So yeah, I've got to get, well, what's the remedy for these people? What's the solution for these people who don't watch every week but then ask, is it just to listen to our content? Or are we just going to put our content over?
That's it. Just get the Not Sam Wrestling podcast. Just go to the Cultaholic YouTube page. That's the other thing. There is so much recap content available. You don't have an excuse. If you have any desire to know what's going on, there is absolutely no excuse to not know.
There you go. There's the clear and loud message there. Watch our stuff.
yeah, that's what we're sending to hell. People that don't watch our stuff.
They deserve to go down, to be fair. We're the best. So Sam, let's hear your third choice, please, to get sent down straight to hell.
I feel like more and more people are doing this, and maybe it's just because I'm such a wrestling nerd that I don't like it, but real names on wrestlers' Twitter accounts goes to hell for me. I can't stand it. I don't think that social media, by definition, is a place where you present your private self. I feel like social media is a place where you present your public self. And for superstars, whether it's in the WWE or any other organization or independently, if you're a professional wrestler, odds are it's not a part-time job. And that is who you are publicly. And I think that your social media should relate to you as a wrestling persona. I don't think that we should be making the cutoff on social media of no, that's what you see on television. This is the real thing. It drives me nuts. I don't know what benefit it would be. I don't think anybody's going like, oh, I thought that this was the real person, but then I saw on Twitter their name's different, so it must be something else.
Yeah, I mean, it's that thing. We all know it's storyline based, and we all know it's, you know, quote unquote fake and whatever. But it's that, I remember that a few years ago, that famous picture of, I think it was the height of Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman's feud. And then they had that picture in the Coliseum. And everyone was like, well, they've just broken. It's just that disconnect really does annoy me as well, because we see how it works so well. when you see the likes of Becky Lynch, especially, she furthers her, especially over the past 2 years, she furthers her storylines on Twitter, and it's just wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where it changes things. You could say, well, we all know that wrestling is entertainment, and the same way Bryan Cranston wouldn't tweet at Walter White, there's no reason for so-and-so to tweet at their wrestling character. But it works literally every time. Every single time that a storyline is pushed out over social media, the storyline gets better. I mean, I feel like Seth Rollins' heel turn started with people reacting to his tweets, and they'd go, well, you want me to cheer on Monday Night Raw, but you're rude to people on Twitter. I can't cheer for you now. You know, like I wouldn't go on a kickoff show and present an opinion and then go on Twitter and go, that was a character on television.
Sam Roberts.
That was television Sam Roberts. I actually respect all of our athletes. Because it's just like, you'd be like, what am I watching then? I think wrestling is so interesting because as fans, no matter how old we get, no matter how smart we get, no matter how much everybody knows it's entertainment, you don't want the suspension of disbelief to be ruined. You want to be able to live in these characters 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the minute that it gets rubbed in your face that it's not real, it becomes more difficult to be invested.
It's weird, isn't it? Because, you know, we don't act that way with films. We don't act that way with TV. It is literally just professional wrestling where these people have to be the people we see on TV all the time. Otherwise, it's a little bit tainted. It's a little bit ruined, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think that part of that is also because, like, a film is 2-3 hours, whatever it is. If it's The Irishman, it's 7 hours. However long it is, it's a finite amount of time, right? And even a television series, it's a finite amount of time, and that's it. There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. But theoretically, we've been watching this WWE sort of storyline universe play out from 1985 until right now. And in order to keep us interested the entire time, I feel like we can't have those breaks.
And I guess from a what do you think it is from a wrestler's perspective that makes them take this leap? From my point of view, I think it's more like opportunities outside of wrestling maybe opening up, and they have their real name on there, and then they can, like, on the social media, they can show who they really are, and that might appeal more than the wrestling character. What do you think? Why do you think they do it?
Yeah, I think that it has a lot to do with the sort of mainstream misunderstanding of wrestling, which is nuts that in 2020 the mainstream still doesn't quite get what wrestling is, and that's, I think, on an individual level, part of the superstar's way of getting past that. But I don't know how effective it is at that, because I think that people still just don't get wrestling. And I think that realistically, the bigger star that you get in the world of pro wrestling, the bigger star you could get outside of the world of professional wrestling. And I think that maintaining that character, you look at guys who have penetrated that mainstream, and you look at Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was never not Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, you couldn't picture Steve Williams having a Twitter account being like, no, I don't drink. That's something that you see on television. Or even The Rock, like, to this day, The Rock's Twitter account is @The Rock. And and he's been credited. Everybody knows his real name. He's outside of wrestling, but he's still @The Rock, because there's so much equity that gets built into these characters that you kind of have to take that with you instead of fighting it.
I'll tell you what needs to happen. Someone needs to start a wrestling promotion, or maybe just an existing promotion needs to force the wrestlers to be the wrestlers on social media. It'll just be so much better.
Yeah.
I wonder why they don't do that.
Yeah. And it's also this thing of, like, people, and I don't know if wrestlers do it so much. I think fans do it more, but, this sort of complain about things being overscripted. I feel like social media is this place where you can go and shoot a video or tweet or do whatever you want to do and further along this character. Like you said, Becky Lynch, so much of what she did on Twitter, even the Ronda Rousey stuff, people were interested when Ronda Rousey started becoming this character on her YouTube channel and on her Instagram and Twitter, because that's when you start to not really know, okay, well, they're sending nasty tweets to each other. I mean, maybe it's storyline, but I still think that they must really not like each other because Twitter is so serious after all.
And I think you make a great point there about the superstars being able to do something off their own back, because I think of those promos Ali did in the street. That sometimes were shown on SmackDown, but more often not, and they were just amazing stuff. It just makes you think, it makes you wonder what they could actually do.
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
So there we have it. I guess the argument for that is wrestlers have to have a life as well. They can't just be the wrestlers all the time, or maybe that's what they signed up to be.
Yeah, well, I don't. Yeah, no, I think they have to have a life, but that doesn't mean it has to be a public life. Like Twitter isn't life. Like I have a whole family, and you never see them on social media because I hang out with them. You know what I mean? You don't have to. You can have this life and still not have it on Twitter.
Yeah, definitely hear that. So there you go. Wrestlers with their own names on Twitter gone straight to hell. So let's hear your fourth offering, please, Sam.
Okay. The fourth offering is the pluralization of tag team championships. Like, we are going to defend our tag team championships at this pay-per-view. The tag team championship is a singular championship represented by 2 championship titles. Each member of the team gets one, but it is one championship. You know, you wouldn't defend one of the 2. Right? They were only ever defended together. It's one championship represented by 2 trophies. So it drives me crazy when I hear the tag team championships are on the line. Which tag team? One champion.
I have never, ever, ever thought about that way.
I think about it all the time. Every time I hear it, I go, it's just one. It's one. Now, if there's a match where the Raw tag team championship and the SmackDown Tag Team Championship are on the line, then the Tag Team Championships are on the line. But if it is a Raw Tag Team Championship match, the Street Profits would be defending the Raw Tag Team Championship. The NXT Tag Team Championship, the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. It's one title represented by 2 trophies.
When did this start bothering you?
I don't know when it started bothering me. I feel like it's been at least a couple years that it's been driving me nuts because it never seems to stop. But logically, it just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. You're right, and I've never thought of it before. But thinking about it now, it opens up a potential new storyline aspect because obviously you would think, presumably, being a tag team champion means more money. So if you differentiate between Raw Tag Team Championships and the Raw Tag Team Championship, maybe one person on that team could have their belt on the line one night and potentially lose out on being the champion's money to somebody else.
Right, and then a new team is formed or something.
Yeah.
Like if you can defend the Raw Tag Team Championships, then theoretically Montez Ford and Angela Dawkins could separately defend their championships, if it's plural.
Their place in the team is at stake at all times. I think you've just opened a can of worms here that needs to be implemented somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, my mind blown here. I don't know what to say. I'll never be able to get that out of my mind now, though. You've got it in there forever.
It shouldn't be out of your mind. I mean, just because there's 2 items, you know, they call it a championship title because your title is tag team champion. Your title is WWE champion. That's the title of you. You've won that title. So the tag team gets the title of champion. So you're one champion. The 2 of you are a champion. You're both champions, but the champion is the unit, not the individuals.
Yes. It makes complete sense.
Good.
So in your ideal world, would there be one title or is the 2 titles not an issue?
No, I don't mind there being 2 trophies, 2 titles. I just mind when they say, and the tag team championships are on the line. Because you're like, of course both titles would be on the line. Like, why would you just defend one of them? They both mean the same thing.
Has anybody else ever shared this issue? Or is this just a thing you've found you've had?
I've never heard anybody else complain about it.
Well, that's the first time for me as well, but how can I argue? It does, when you think about it, it does make sense. So I guess the term tag championships is going to hell.
Thank God.
So after our minds have been blown, maybe mine has. Sam, what's your last offering, please?
My last offering is the overuse of the near fall shock face. I feel like we are living in a time where near falls are far more frequent than ever. False finishes are a part of wrestling now. And I don't mind false finishes. I love false finishes. I think they work. I think that they get your heart racing. But I think that we have to sit there and logically say, okay, if we're living in this era where false finishes are frequent, if we're living in this era where people kick out of finishing moves in big matches all the time, then this face of utter shock and frustration sometimes has to change. Some of the superstars have to realize that just because I hit my finisher doesn't mean I'm going to get my 3 count. I don't think that we can send the shock face away completely to hell. I think the overuse of the shock face. I think, I don't remember, somebody did it on NXT this week and it was really good. I don't remember. It might have even been Austin Theory that had this face of like, okay, I see you. Like, I thought I was going to win, but you just kicked out. All right, let's keep going. And it was something different than the shocked face, and I appreciated that very much. I think that sort of, and then the commentator goes, oh, the look, frustration written all over the face. And it's like, I know. I've been seeing this for 35 years.
So when was the last time you did an NXT kickoff show? Because that NXT is where it happens the most, I find.
Well, yeah, for sure. Because those are where the most near falls are, right? Those are where the most false finishes are. The last time I did an NXT pre-show was in Portland. Was it?
I've missed that one. Because that was a show. Matthew of Botchamania, who we do a podcast here with, he tweeted his disdain for that show because the overuse of the near fall, and then I guess the shocked face as well. But so many near falls all the way through the card really affected his enjoyment of that show. What's your thought on like the overusage of the sort of near fall before the shock face?
I don't mind it so much. I like that show. I think that there is, I mean, we're walking a fine line, right? And I do think that it shouldn't be in every single match, but it's also almost what the certain crowds have come to expect. Yeah. Like, it's almost a calling card now of up and down. And as long as the audience is going on the ride, it doesn't bother me. It's just the idea that the athletes in the ring wouldn't sit there in their training before this match and storyline and understand, okay, I've done this before. I know that there is a high probability that people are going to kick out at 2 3/4 because people kick out at 2 3/4 all the time. So let me be ready for that, and it shouldn't shock me too much.
So just to play devil's advocate, what if I was to say, oh, that's just wrestling? Because I think of Sami Zayn doing a Blue Thunder Bomb or Dolph Ziggler doing a Fairmaster. They do these moves time and time again, knowing it's not going to work, and then they're still shocked when they get a near fall, instead of a 3.
You know, I think we have to get away from that's just wrestling. You know, I don't think that. I think that you have to surprise an audience. I think you have to tell stories that we don't feel like we've seen before. And I think when you start saying that's just wrestling, and oh yeah, well, that's just how wrestling matches are done, I don't think that the audience should be that familiar with the paces of how a wrestling match is done and feel like, okay, we're all doing this together. It's like, no. The audience is there to watch the superstars do it.
Yeah.
And I think that when you're presenting the audience with stuff that maybe they haven't seen before, or maybe they wouldn't expect, then it's different. I mean, I hate when the audience does fake shock faces because they all want to be the Undertaker guy. You know, they all want to be in the montages later. So they pretend to be surprised so they can get the zoom in on their face and be in the montage.
They might genuinely be surprised.
I like Angry Miz Girl. I think Angry Miz Girl was legitimately angry. I love when I see stuff like that. But when I watch, and I can watch their face change. Like, it's almost like they see in the corner of their eye the red light of the camera's on, and then they go like, oh, they start grabbing their head, and I'm like, okay, all right, take it down a notch.
So I tell you what, during that main event at Portland, when it got to the sort of 65th kick out, I was making those faces. But I guess, yeah, we'll talk about Austin Theory obviously doing something different. What more would you want to see instead of the shocked faces? Anything different than rather like, oh, all right then. What would you want to see happen instead?
I think that there are looks of realizing that this battle is not over yet. You know, I mean, I don't think that just because there's a near fall that you have to lose confidence. Like, okay, like one of those, like, you. Like more of that and less of the like, what am I going to do now? Because I want to know you have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. And I think that those moments are, okay, plan B didn't work. He just kicked out. Luckily, here comes plan C. You know, I think that because I think it's realistic to think that at this point, superstars would be going in with, you know, plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And are ready to go, okay, should plan C not work? Here comes plan D.
And when plan F doesn't work, that's when the shock face comes out, just once.
Then the shock face comes out, that's right.
So there we have it. Shock faces have gone down to hell. Thank you very much for joining us today, Sam. Before you go, anything to plug?
Yeah, my YouTube channel is youtube.com/notsam. My podcast is Not Sam Wrestling, and it comes out every Monday on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher and where you get podcasts.
Right, lovely then. So thanks again for joining us. We'll see you on a kickoff show down the line.
Thank you.
Lovely stuff. See you later.